The number one issue in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is jobs and job creation. This budget proposal that we heard today does absolutely nothing about putting Pennsylvania's people back to work.
Higher education funding cuts. This year for the state-related, it's 30%, and the state system, 20%. When you add it to last year's cuts, well over 50%. Well over 50%. If there's any other way, the only way you're going to get people to have available to them access to higher education is by having appropriate levels of cost.
Almost a dozen schools in this Commonwealth that are on the verge of bankruptcy. There's nothing in this budget that's going to help any of these schools. In fact, it was last year's budget that brought them to the verge of bankruptcy. So school districts are in deep trouble, and while the governor waves the flag and says, you know, we don't raise taxes, you will see almost every single school district in this Commonwealth raise the property tax because they have no choice but to do so based on the increased costs of education over last year.
And yet we saw no plan, no detail from the governor on what would clearly be the most bipartisan issue we could have in this legislature, and that's increasing investment in our roads and bridges. It would put Pennsylvanians back to work at a good wage and prepare our infrastructure for the future. And it is amazing, after over a year in office, the most we got out of him was 3 sentences. Incomplete or an F would be the only 2 grades you could give the governor on infrastructure. We've got to do better on our roads and bridges. And like I said, that would be the most bipartisan issue we could work on in this legislature. And it's a shame the governor refuses to lead on it.
And it doesn't address, completely fails to talk about transportation. In that budget address, the governor mentioned that this is about jobs. Well, if it's about jobs, we have to create have a transportation system that works with safe roads and bridges, with a transit system that works throughout the Commonwealth. One of the things that you did not hear about was transportation funding. There's no way better to be able to put people back to work than giving us clear direction about how we're going to address mass transit funding, how we're going to address roads and bridges repairs that need to be done in this Commonwealth, and put people to work.